The billionaire's male twins were born paralyzed. What he saw the maid doing left him speechless. He stopped at the doorway, unable to breathe. The sight before him didn't make sense. His twin boys, the same ones who had been born paralyzed, were running across the sitting room, running, laughing, chasing each other like any normal children. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. He rubbed his eyes hard, but when he looked again, they were still running, their little feet hitting the floor, their giggles echoing through the mansion. The billionaire's mouth fell open. "No, that's not possible," he whispered to himself. The doctors had said his sons would never walk, no matter how much money he spent or how many specialists he hired. But here they were, walking, jumping, alive with joy. And then he saw her. The maid was in the middle of the room, laughing with them. She clapped her hands, cheering them on as if this miracle was the most normal thing in the world. She helped one of the boys balance, then gently turned him loose, and he ran straight into his brother's arms. The billionaire felt his heart pound in his chest. He wanted to say something, but no words came out. Finally, he stepped forward. "What was going on here?" he asked, his voice shaking. The maid turned around slowly. Her smile faded when she saw him standing there. The boys stopped running and stared at their father, still giggling softly. "Sir," she said quietly, "please, don't be angry." "Angry?" he asked, still in shock. "You're telling me my sons, the same boys who couldn't even move their legs, are now walking, and you think I'd be angry?" The maid looked down, twisting her fingers nervously. "There are things, sir, things you wouldn't believe if I told you." The billionaire took a step closer, his eyes fixed on her. "Then make me believe." The twins giggled again, and one of them ran straight into his arms, calling, "Daddy!" Tears filled his eyes as he lifted the boy and felt his legs kicking against him. For a man who thought he'd seen it all, this moment broke him completely. But what he didn't know, what he was about to find out, was how this miracle really happened, and that truth would shake his world to its core. The billionaire's voice echoed through the sitting room. "Make me believe," he said, his tone trembling between shock and demand. The maid froze. Her hand shook slightly as she tried to help one of the twins sit down, but he pulled away, laughing. The sound of their giggles filled the air, so innocent, so full of life, and it only made the moment more unreal. "How long has this been happening?" the billionaire asked, stepping closer. "Since when can they walk?" The maid lowered her eyes. "It started 2 days ago, sir," she whispered. 2 days?" he repeated, disbelief flooding his voice. "And you didn't tell me?" She swallowed hard. "I wanted to, but I was afraid you wouldn't understand." The billionaire's eyes narrowed. "Understand what? That my paralyzed sons are suddenly walking? That's not something you hide." The maid's voice broke. "I didn't hide it to deceive you, sir. I hid it because I can't explain it." The twins were still running around, their laughter echoing off the marble walls, their tiny feet tapping like music. The billionaire turned to watch them, his heart swelling with both joy and confusion. He wanted to be happy, but something about this didn't feel right. He turned back to her. "What did you do to them?" The maid shook her head quickly. "Nothing, sir. I just—" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes darting toward the hallway. The billionaire noticed it. "What is it?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she whispered, "They weren't supposed to walk yet." "What do you mean weren't supposed to?" he asked, frowning. The maid took a small step back, clutching her apron. "I didn't do anything bad, sir. I swear, I only played with them, the way I always do." "Then explain this," he shouted, pointing to the twins now climbing onto the couch. Her lips trembled. "Sometimes," she said softly, "when I'm with them, strange things happen. Things I can't control." He stared at her, his expression hardening. "Are you saying you did this? That you somehow—" "I don't know," she cried, cut him off. "Please don't ask me how. I just know that when I touch them, they change." The billionaire fell silent, his mind racing. He didn't believe in miracles. He didn't believe in anything beyond science and money. But now, both of his sons were proof that something impossible had happened right in his own home. Before he could say another word, one of the twins tripped near the coffee table. The maid gasped and rushed forward. But when she touched the boy's arm, something strange happened. A flash of light, quick, faint, but real, flickered between her hand and his skin. The billionaire saw it. His eyes went wide. "What was that?" he whispered. The maid froze. Her face turned pale. Then she said something that made his heart drop. "Sir, if they keep walking like this, something terrible might happen." The room went quiet. The laughter of the twins faded into soft giggles as they climbed onto the couch, still full of joy. But the billionaire couldn't move. He just stared at the maid. Her words echoed in his mind. Something terrible might happen. "What do you mean by that?" he asked slowly. His voice was calm, but inside his chest felt like it was tightening. "Are you saying my sons are in danger?" The maid looked down at the twins, her eyes filling with worry. "Not danger," she said quietly. "At least not yet." He stepped closer. "You need to explain. Now." She hesitated, twisting her hands nervously. "When I first came here, sir, the twins couldn't move at all. I used to carry them everywhere, to feed them, to bathe them, to make them smile. They never cried, but their eyes, they always looked so tired, like they had already given up." Her voice shook. "I couldn't stand seeing them that way. So one morning, I just started playing with them. I'd sing, clap, move their legs, pretend they could walk." The billionaire crossed his arms. "Pretend? That doesn't explain this." "I know," she whispered. "But one day I felt something, like a shock, gentle but warm, in my hands. And they smiled at me for the first time. The next day, their toes moved." The billionaire blinked in disbelief. "You expect me to believe that touching them made them walk?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't understand it either. But every time I played with them, they got stronger." He ran a hand through his hair. "This sounds insane." The maid's eyes filled with tears. "You think I wanted this? I didn't. I tried to stop, but they would cry every time I didn't touch them. It's like they needed it." The billionaire turned away, looking at his sons. They were laughing again, bright, innocent, alive. For a moment, he felt hope, real hope. Then the smaller twin suddenly stopped laughing. His little body stiffened. He grabbed his brother's arm, and both boys froze. "Boys," the billionaire said softly, stepping closer. The maid gasped. "No, not now," she whispered. Before he could ask what was happening, both twins turned their heads, their eyes glowing faintly, reflecting the same strange light he'd seen in the maid's hands. And then, in perfect unison, the two boys said something that made his blood run cold. "She's not supposed to tell you." The billionaire froze. For a few seconds, he couldn't breathe. His sons had never spoken so clearly before, and their voices, they didn't sound like children. "What did you just say?" he asked, his voice trembling. The twins looked at him with blank faces. "She's not supposed to tell you," they repeated softly, their tone strange and calm. The maid dropped to her knees, shaking her head. "Please stop. Please, not again." The billionaire's eyes darted between the children and the maid. "What's going on here? What are they talking about?" The maid looked terrified. "Sir, I swear, I didn't mean to break any rule. I was only trying to help them." "What rule?" he demanded, raising his voice. "Who told you not to tell me?" Tears filled her eyes. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me," he snapped. She took a shaky breath. "It started the night your wife died." The billionaire went still. He hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in months. His late wife, the love of his life, had passed during childbirth. "I saw her," the maid said quietly. "Not in a dream. I saw her in this house." He stared at her in disbelief. "You're saying my wife's ghost is here?" "She's not haunting," the maid said quickly. "She's protecting. She came to me one night while I was cleaning. She said the twins' bodies were weak, but their souls were alive, and that only human touch filled with pure care could wake them." The billionaire felt his throat tighten. "So you were the one she chose?" The maid nodded slowly. "Every time I touched them, it wasn't just me helping. It was her, through me. That's why the twins move, laugh, and walk when I'm near. He backed away, his heart racing. You expect me to believe my wife. Before he could finish, one of the twins suddenly stood up on the couch. His tiny hand lifted toward the maid, and the faint sound of a woman's voice echoed through the room. Don't be angry with her. She did what I couldn't. The billionaire's face went pale. The voice was gentle, warm, and unmistakably his late wife's. The room grew cold. The twins turned their heads toward him, smiling faintly, and one of them whispered, Daddy, she says you need to forgive her. The billionaire stumbled back, his knees weak. Forgive who? He whispered. The maid dropped her gaze. Me, she said softly. Because your wife warned me that if I ever told you the truth, she would have to leave them forever. He stared at her, horrified. What do you mean, leave them? The maid's voice broke. Their strength comes from her spirit. If she goes, they might never walk again. The room fell silent. The billionaire's heart pounded, so hard it echoed in his ears. His son stood there, walking, smiling, but now every breath they took filled him with dread. He turned slowly to Maid. You're saying if my wife leaves, they'll go back to being paralyzed? The maid nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. Yes, sir. Her spirit holds them. She's still here because of love. But now that you know, she can't stay hidden anymore. He felt the air grow heavier, almost electric. I don't want to lose her again, he whispered, his voice breaking. Or them. The twins looked confused. Daddy, why are you sad? He forced a smile. Because I don't understand what's happening. Suddenly, the chandelier above them flickered. A soft wind passed through the room, though every window was closed. The maid looked up, whispering. She's listening. Then a faint glow appeared behind the twins. A shape, fragile yet bright, like mist taking form. The billionaire stepped forward, trembling. It's you, he whispered. The shape of a woman's figure appeared, calm, radiant, familiar. His late wife. Her voice was soft but firm. You've always needed proof. But love doesn't live in proof, it lives in faith. He dropped to his knees. Please don't leave me again. Don't take them. The spirit's glow pulsed gently. Their healing depends on peace, not fear. You must forgive the maid. She carried my love when I no longer could. He turned to the maid, guilt flooding his chest. I blamed you for so much. I was angry, blind. The twins ran into his arms, their small bodies warm and alive. Daddy, we can walk because of her, one of them cried. He looked into their eyes, and in that instant, the glow behind him began to fade. No, he shouted, reaching out. Don't go. The maid covered her mouth, sobbing. She's letting go. Her work is done. The spirit smiled softly, whispering, Now love them for both of us. And just like that, she vanished. The house grew silent again. The billionaire turned toward his sons. They were still standing, still smiling, still walking. He froze. They're fine. The maid nodded. Because you finally believed. He stared at her, speechless, tears streaming down his face. He had built empires, bought everything money could buy, yet none of it had ever felt this real. For the first time, he didn't feel like a billionaire. He just felt like a father, grateful, humbled, and changed forever. He turned to Maid, whispering, You've given me back my family. I don't know how to repay you. She smiled through her tears. Just keep loving them. That's all she ever wanted. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, flooding the mansion with warm light. And for the first time since that tragic day years ago, the house didn't feel empty anymore.